and she's really inspirational and a great role model for especially the young Tamil women in our community, because she's able as a social worker to defend the vulnerable, challenge discriminations in our community, and defy conventions and break those cliches in our community as well. And as young Tamil women, like, it's changing. It's changing definitely, but she's definitely part of the movement in breaking up those barriers and removing the silence as well, because sometimes we're stigmatized as women, and to, you know, sometimes maybe to be silent, and but she's part of the movement to create a voice for our community. So let's let her tell her story.
Very exciting.
Exactly. So let's put our hands together for the amazing Jenny.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for that introduction. First and foremost, I would like to thank Cantide's commitment to foster growth and empowerment with our Tamil community and youth. It is such a privilege to have access to these supportive services within our community, which not many others around the world are fortunate enough to have. Also, I would like to thank Cantide for reaching out to me and providing me with the honor and privilege of being your keynote speaker today, and for providing me with a platform to speak about such a relevant and rampant issue, not only within our community, but across the world. As many of you know, I recently published my story of childhood sexual abuse and incest on Tamil culture. This realization that I had to share my story with the world didn't form overnight. I struggled for many years with the clouded awareness that childhood sexual abuse was in fact a reality in my life. It was easier to pretend as though it never happened. So I stand before you today, embracing my personal struggles so that I may share my journey with you, my Tamil community. Like many Tamil families, mine fled the civil war in Sri Lanka and landed in Germany. I was born in Kirchen and grew up in a small village called Malberg. I moved to Canada when I was about 9 years old, and we moved many times around the GTA, but I did primarily live in Scarborough, Malvern to be exact. And then I spent my teen years in Brampton. From the outside, we seemed like a typical average family. We played our family roles and kept our secrets behind closed doors. Everything from my husband hits me to my daughter got suspended in school was kept a secret. We didn't seek solace from our family, friends, or loved ones. Oftentimes, we even kept these secrets from each other. Like many families, we took pride in protecting and preserving our family honor and reputation. As a family, we were terrified of being misunderstood, judged, and talked about. Somehow, it became so natural to gossip with poor intention and take comfort in the pain of others rather than displaying support or compassion. Incest. It took years, or what felt like a lifetime, for me to name what was happening to me. I was 17 years old when I found the courage to speak up. I couldn't tell my mother. I was too afraid of the many circumstances that could unfold if I did. And so I had to tell my brother. I told him everything. I was speechless. There were no words in the Tamil language, and I had no knowledge of the words in English to describe what had happened to me. There were tears in my brother's eyes, and it was clear that his life was forever changed in that moment. When I told my mother, however, she was in disbelief at the possibility that this could be true. She laughed. I didn't know what else to say or do. That same night, she confronted him and called me to their bedroom to confirm what I was saying was in fact the truth. Days passed, and she constantly questioned why I had not told her before and what exactly he did to me. She said she could have protected me, prevented it from happening. I didn't expect this to be my mother's reaction. I wanted anger, disgust, outrage. She didn't understand me. She didn't understand that I was a child, and this furthered the guilt and shame I had already felt. A day would not go by when I didn't try to seek my mother's approval to move out. At times, she would negotiate with me. She told me I still had to come to family events and that perhaps I could live with my uncle and aunt so that we can continue to hide behind our lies. I agreed to her terms. However, at the end of the day, she would never let me move out. She would never let me leave. She said that she would die if I left, and that if she can live with him, so can I. Everyone pretended like nothing had happened. Nothing changed. He was no longer the monster I exposed. He was our father, her husband, part of our family again. This infuriated me, but I also felt at ease. At times, I enjoyed pretending like nothing happened. After all I ever wanted was a normal family, like the family we portrayed ourselves to be to the outside world. I was living a lie, and I felt like I was slowly but surely going insane. I started counseling a few months into my undergraduate studies. Initially, I was furious. I questioned why did I have to suffer and endure the uncomfortable and draining process of counseling when I did nothing wrong? I saw counseling as punishment. It's funny to think back at this and how I viewed counseling. Being a social worker today, I can honestly say that this is no longer my perspective. When you are a victim of abuse, you often have destructive self-conceptions and boundaries with yourself and others. If you didn't have positive role models within your family and community, how are you supposed to foster your own? Guilt, shaming, manipulation, and anger were such ordinary aspects of relationships, and I truly started to believe that there were no positive alternatives, that I wasn't worth anything more. I lived my whole life trying to please the people around me. As a result, I had forgotten to take care of myself. I had forgotten to believe in my self-worth and value. They say the first thing you lose when you are a victim of abuse is your voice. In counseling, I felt heard. I no longer felt isolated and abandoned in my struggle. It is only after I started nurturing my relationship with myself that I could start to form healthy and positive relationships with others. I was 19 when I left. My family insisted I return home. They wanted so badly to preserve that image of a perfect Tamil family. You see, it was very unbecoming of me as a 19-year-old Tamil woman to live on my own without the support of my family. What would the community think of such a woman? My experiences of childhood sexual abuse, of incest, had stolen many aspects of my life, but most importantly, my identity as a Tamil woman. After I moved out, I was shunned not only from my immediate family members, but my uncles, aunts, cousins, distant relatives, family friends, my Tamil community. It didn't matter to my 19-year-old self why you weren't there for me. The fact of the matter was that you weren't, and I felt hurt and abandoned. I'm not ashamed to say that I despise the Tamil community for the betrayal and lack of support I felt when I walked away from my biological family. I am, however, ashamed to say that I allowed that to question my identity as a Tamil woman. The hurt I felt made it easy for me to display animosity rather than any compassion. My surrogate mother may have named me, my last name may be German, but make no mistake, I'm a proud Tamil woman and no one can take that away from me. I will no longer allow them to silence me or to re-victimize me. I will no longer deny or limit his and their responsibility and protect my family from the shame they deserve. This is my truth, my story. There are many layers of complexity in my story, although this part of my story has forced me to make decisions that have ultimately led me to be where I am today. What I want you to know is, what I want you to understand is, it is just a part of my story. I'm not the sum of what I've been through, but rather what I've accomplished and yearn to be. These issues should never be hidden behind closed doors, normalized, trivialized, or kept a secret. No one deserves to suffer in silence. Regardless of the circumstances that lead to childhood sexual abuse, it is never the child's fault. They don't seduce, dress provocatively, or ask for it. The blame and responsibility lies entirely with the perpetrator. Silence and isolation is a perpetrator-imposed crime, meant to undermine the child's autonomy. It constitutes in our society as one of the most monstrous crimes against the child's personal development and social safety. Keeping the secret is absolutely necessary for the perpetrator in order to avoid consequences and to allow continued availability of the victim. The longer the secret is held, the longer the behavior is able to continue. The perpetrator usually knows that this conduct is against the law and is therefore not averse to telling the child that bad things will happen if the secret comes out. Many wonder why children do not tell. This threat aspect is one of the many reasons. Childhood sexual abuse and incest is a topic that requires much more awareness and education in our community. Did you know that 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 6 boys experience an unwanted sexual act before they turn 18 years old? Did you know that these unwanted sexual acts are mostly from people these children know and trust? It breaks my heart to hear about the many Tamil women and men who have experienced childhood sexual abuse from their parents, step-parents, uncles, aunts, relatives, cousins, teachers, coaches, and other authoritative figures who were supposed to protect, guide, and support them. It fills me with so much hatred to know that these young souls have been tormented with in such horrific ways. At the same time, I feel some strength and power in knowing that there are others out there that have gone through similar experiences to mine. It makes me feel hopeful to know that there may be open dialogue with these topics. My hope is for our Tamil community to confront these issues with an open mind and heart. I'm going to leave you with one of my favorite quotes from Viktor Frankl that I live by. Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how. This is an extraordinary man who was a prisoner at the Auschwitz concentration camp during World War II and survived. Inevitably, you will come across many obstacles in your life that will be beyond your control. And they can take away everything you possess within a split second, except for one thing: your freedom to choose how you will respond. Choose to love, inspire, and shine. Thank you.
And you will continue. I applaud you on your continuing journey, and I hope to see more published works of yours. And thanks so much for being such an inspiration to young Tamil women. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Okay.
On behalf of the Canadian Tamil Youth Development Center, thank you so much.
It takes a lot of courage and strength, and definitely she opened up a platform for other young women to express their stories as well.
Great role model.
You're really remarkable.
Thank you so much.